What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking every single college football team. Of course, it's not every single team, but we got quite a few teams here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, be sure to leave a like on the video, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 400 subscribers, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And let's get into it. We got S, A, B, C, D, and F. So if you guys enjoy, let's get into it. Starting off, we got Tulsa, the Golden Hurricane. Put them in C tier. Went 6-6 this season. They're going to a bowl game. We're decent in the AAC. They just weren't all that great, so I'll put them in C. Alabama and Georgia, no doubt about it. They're S. Alabama, best team in the country right now. And then Georgia, before they lost to Alabama, were the best team in the country. So both these teams, both S tier, no doubt about it. Tennessee, C tier. Tennessee made the bowl game. Were very impressive this season, but at the end of the day, Tennessee didn't win really any big games except for the Kentucky game, and they barely made a bowl game. So I got to put them in C tier. But they improved from probably a D tier team. Next, we got Clemson. I'm going to put them in B tier. Originally, they didn't look that good. Nobody really looked at them as a great team at the beginning of the year because Clemson is used to going 12-0, 11-1, winning the ACC championship, making the college football playoff. And everyone was calling them bad because they were like 6-4, and people were calling that bad, or not 6-4. They were like 4-2 or something, and people were calling that bad for Clemson. But at the end of the day, Clemson made a bowl game. If it weren't for losing NC State, probably would have made the ACC championship and won it. So Clemson, definitely still a great team. They went ranked. If they just fix that quarterback situation, then Clemson will be right back in it. Got Missouri C tier. Not a great team. Didn't really do anything. Didn't win any big games. Got killed by Georgia. I don't know if they made a bowl or not. So Missouri at C tier. Arizona F. Arizona was straight up horrible this year. Lost. They had one win or something. Arizona was probably the worst Power Five team this season. Maybe you could argue Vandy, but Arizona was horrendous. So I gotta put them in F tier. Notre Dame A tier. Notre Dame, very quality team this season. Had a loss to Cincinnati, which was a little tough, but definitely Notre Dame. They finished in top 15, I'm pretty sure. Won 9+ games. Very productive season. I'll put Notre Dame in A. Kansas F. Kansas has never been competitive. Never will be. But Kansas as a whole just isn't a good team. Like they shouldn't be in the Big 12. Arizona, Kansas, and Vandy should all be in non-Power 5 conferences. They should all be in like the Sun Belt or AAC or something like that. But yeah, F tier for both of them. Auburn, I'm going to go with B tier. Auburn, they kept pace with Alabama, almost beat them, made a bowl game. They were consistent most of the season, could win a few great games. Auburn was a quality B team. Air Force C. Air Force, they were pretty productive this season. Pretty productive in the Mountain West. They won a few good games, and as a whole, played pretty well this season. They were a quality team. They're going to a bowl game, I'm pretty sure. Akron F. Like Akron's always been bad. Army C tier. Same thing with Air Force. Both were pretty good this season. Both got a few good wins, and I believe both of them are going to a bowl game. So props to them. But they're just C tier for now. Boise State also C tier. Boise State did not make the Mountain West conference championship like they are used to doing. But they still had a productive season. They're still going to go to a bowl game. And I think since their past years they've been good, this year they were still pretty solid. So I'll put them in C tier. Cal, another C tier team. Like they lost to Arizona. They could even go in D tier. But I'll put them in C tier for now. They were still a decent Pac 12 team. ECU C tier. They were pretty good this season. Like they made a bowl game. They're playing Boston College in the Military Bowl. ECU, for what ECU was used to, they were pretty good this season. But at the end of the day, they were 6-6, 7-5 in a non-Power 5 conference. Like that can't be more than a C tier. FIU and FAU, not really familiar with how they did this season, so I'll put them in D. Friends of State will go in C tier. I really like this Friends of State team. I want to put them in B tier, but they just didn't make the Mountain West Championship. I really like Jay Kanier as a quarterback, and I just, as a whole, really like that team. They beat UCLA, so props to them. C tier for them now. Uh, Hawaii D tier. They were pretty bad this season. They don't have Cole McDonald anymore. Yeah. So and then Louisiana Tech. Other than like they almost beat Mississippi State and NC State, but that's pretty much it. Like they won like 4 games or something. So yeah, it was a pretty weak season for Louisiana Tech. Maryland C tier. Maryland got blown out by good teams, but they were able to beat the teams below them, you could say. But as a whole, Maryland just wasn't that good. So I don't think you can really put them above C, but they were quality. Miami of Ohio, D tier. Minnesota, another C tier, a lot like Maryland. I do not know if they beat Wisconsin. Check me in the comments down below. I do think they did beat them, but check me in the comments down below. But as for Minnesota, I like them as a team. I think they're pretty good. Nevada, D tier. I mean, Carson Strong's good. But they just as a whole weren't a very good team this season. They didn't win a lot of games and they didn't go to the Mountain West Championship. I don't know who this is. I think this is UNLV. In that, yeah, I think this is New Mexico State actually. D tier. That I get these two mixed up. One's UNLV and one's New Mexico State. They'll both go in D tier. Ohio State and Oklahoma State both go in A tier. They were both at one point very good, but Ohio State, you look at them, very disappointing against Michigan. They also lost to Oregon. And then Oklahoma State had a very productive season, beat Oklahoma. They were looking very good, and then they lost to Baylor in the Big 12 championship. That really separated them from an S to an A tier team. Old Dominion D tier. Oregon B tier, B tier. I want to put them in A tier, but no, like they lost. They got killed by Utah twice. If you're getting killed to a team that was ranked lower than you twice, that is a massive disappointment. Now, if Oregon even beat them once, or maybe if Oregon even made it close, they would be an A tier. But the fact that they lost by more than 20 points in both games is just a disappointment. Oklahoma A tier. They lost Lincoln Riley, but this season, considering Spencer Rattler didn't play, like Oklahoma wasn't horrible. Like they were still ranked high, and they still won. I think 9 games. They lost to Oklahoma State. They lost to Baylor. They lost a few games like that, but at the end of the day, Oklahoma was still a good team, just not S. Purdue, you could put them in B tier. I wouldn't be mad at that because they did have impressive wins this season. But at the end of the day, beating Michigan State and beating Iowa, like those were two downfallen, regressing teams over the season that probably a lot of teams like the Wisconsin beat Iowa, like Michigan killed Iowa. Like Iowa wasn't that impressive, and then Michigan State lost to Ohio State 56-7. But Purdue got killed by Ohio State, and I guess you can maybe put them in B because they were pretty impressive against Indiana. But I'll put them in C. Rutgers also C, a lot like Purdue. So yeah, Southern Miss D tier. Don't know much about them. USC C tier. I want to put USC in D tier because of how bad they were this season, but I just can't put a powerhouse like that. Who, I mean, they won 4 games. It wasn't like they won 2 games. But USC, I think they'll be better next year. Utah State B tier. Really like this Utah State team. Um, like Utah State, they made the Mountain West Championship. I'm pretty sure they won it. They got a really good team. Utah State was pretty good this season. They're gonna go in B tier because of how consistent and good they were. Utah B tier. You could maybe argue to put Utah in A tier, but Utah, I mean, they blew out Oregon twice. And they won the Big 12, so maybe you put them in A tier. I wouldn't be mad at you. Washington State C tier. They were decent, uh, but they weren't anything special. Western Michigan D tier. Wisconsin C tier, B tier. Wisconsin was good this season. I'm pretty sure they lost to Minnesota. Check me in the comments down below. But as a whole, Wisconsin is still pretty good. They were ranked at 14th, I'm pretty sure, at one point. So, gotta put Wisconsin in B tier. Wyoming, don't really know much. Like, I know they were decent this season, but I'll put them in D because I don't think they made a bowl game and they didn't go to the Mountain West Championship. Houston will go in B. Houston and Kentucky will both go and B. Now, hear me out. Houston, they lost 2 games, and both of them were to Cincinnati, I'm pretty sure. And Houston was 24th in the country at one point. Kentucky, at one point, had a 6-game win streak and beat Florida. They were really good. But then again, I'm pretty sure, then again, South Carolina also beat Florida. So, Kentucky, they were inconsistent, but they still ended with a good record. And at one point, they were really ranked high. UMass F tier. I know people go to UMass, but UMass was horrible in football. UCF C tier really just wasn't their year. They weren't that good as a whole. They had a few good games, but they just were decent. That's all you can really say. Georgia Tech were D tier. It started off pretty well, almost beat Clemson, but just ended the year in a stinker. Didn't do much. D tier. Miami C tier. I really like how Miami adapted without Derek King. They're able to win a few games. They beat NC State. So they were a decent team this season. So I'll go C tier. UNC C tier, 6-6. Uh, they were 6-6, made a bowl game. C tier. Texas D tier, C tier, because then they kept pace with Oklahoma. But Texas, like the fact they lost, they went 4-7 or 4-8. I'm pretty sure, but I don't think you can really put a team like Texas in D tier unless they win like 2 games. Wake Forest B tier. After losing to Pitt that by that much, I don't think I can put Wake Forest in B tier. But they were still really good. But they lost to Clemson. They lost to UNC. They should have lost to NC State, and they lost to Pitt. So yeah, Washington D tier. Washington lost to Montana State. Like, come on, man. San Jose State don't know much about them. Virginia, I really like them as a team. Brennan Armstrong, I really liked, but I didn't see a lot from Virginia. At the end of the year, they really weren't that good. In Virginia, they barely made a bowl game. They choked at the end of the year, so Virginia will go in C tier. Pitt, I'm gonna put Pitt in A tier. I really like Pitt. I love Kenny Pickett. I really like their defense. And Pitt, I mean, they just shut out like they killed Wake Forest. They limit the Wake Forest power offense to 21 points. Pitt, they won the ACC and ended up as like the 14th team in the country. I really like Pitt, and they go in A tier for me. Georgia Southern, don't know much about them. Put them in D. Tulane, D. Ole Miss will go in B. Ole Miss will go in A, actually. They were really good this season. Were competitive. If it weren't for them losing to Alabama, they could have made the SEC championship. Ole Miss, they really had a good bounce back season. USF, they were bad this season. Mississippi State, C tier, B tier, C tier. Yeah, I like that because Mississippi State, like, they weren't great at all, but I mean they won a few games, and I believe that they made a bowl game, so that was good. Iowa State C tier weren't great. Oregon State C tier, Middle Tennessee D tier, App State C tier. I like App State, but I mean they lost the Sun Belt Championship. West Virginia D tier, Syracuse D tier, Virginia Tech C tier, Rice D tier, Duke D tier, NC State, my NC State Wolfpack, put them in B tier. I mean they ended the year well, and they went 9-3 or something like that. So I'll put them in B tier. Temple D tier, South Carolina C tier. Like, South Carolina wasn't really that good this season. Uh, Arkansas State, I think that is D tier. Ball State D tier. UAB D tier. Bowling Green F tier. Like, Bowling Green was horrible once again. Don't know who that is, so I'll put them in F. Central Michigan, D. Colorado State, D. Colorado, maybe C. No, I'll put Colorado in D. Yeah, C. Yeah, C tier. I don't know. Is that's Cincinnati? Oh my gosh. Yeah, Cincinnati, undisputedly S tier. Like I don't know how you can't put Cincinnati in S tier. They went undefeated, and they beat Notre Dame. Like they're probably gonna make it to the second round of the playoff. Like Cincinnati was really good. Illinois, C tier. They were okay. Louisville, really, I like Malik Cunningham. I think his name is. Baylor, Baylor will go in A tier. I want to put Baylor in S tier, but I think where the Baylor stands right now is the sixth ranked team in the country. They were really good, but I don't know. Baylor at A tier. I'll keep them there for now. Texas Tech C tier. Charlotte D tier. BYU. I like BYU. They did really well without Zach Wilson. I'll put them in A tier. Um, Arkansas started off really hot, ended kind of rough, so I'll put them in B. Coastal Carolina, a little bit disappointing this season, so go in C. Louisiana, really like them as a team, put them in B tier. So that was it. They were really good. Boston College, C tier, like they're pretty bad, honestly. Don't know who that is, so I'll put them in. I think that's Eastern Michigan. I'll put them in C or D. Arizona State, will go in. That's tough. I'll come back to them. I'll put them in Florida. Florida will go in C tier. They weren't that good this year. Don't know who they are. They're Georgia State. Put them in D tier. Indiana will go in D tier. They were really bad. Iowa, they started off hot, ended rough. B tier. Kansas State, C tier. Kent State, D tier. LSU, put LSU in C tier. Troy, D tier. Liberty, like Malik Willis. Other than that, they're not great, so I'll put them in C tier. Marshall, C tier. Memphis, C tier. Michigan, S tier. After beating Ohio State, they were phenomenal. So Michigan will go in S tier. Navy will go in C tier. Nebraska will go in C tier. Northern Illinois will go in C tier. Northwestern, they struggled this year considering how good they were last year, but they'll go in C. Ohio D. Penn State will go in B, I think. No, Penn State will go in B. They were solid. They're pretty good. UTSA, really good this season. Put them in C tier. Based off their performance, I'll put them in B. San Diego State, they were decent. They were pretty good. I'll put them in B. Texas State, don't know much. Florida State, we're a little bit disappointed. So C tier. SMU, C tier. South Alabama, don't know much. Michigan State, Peyton Thorne was good. Kenneth Walker was good. I'll put them in A tier. Stanford, don't know much. Stanford, C tier. Texas A&M, solid B tier. I mean, they beat Alabama at the end of the day. TCU, they were pretty bad. C tier. Toledo, D tier. UCLA, quality team. They'll go in B tier. UConn, F tier. UNLV. Oh, there's UNLV. All right, D tier. Northern Texas, C tier. UTEP, D tier. Sorry, memers. Vandy, the F tier. They gotta win. No, F tier. ULM, Louisiana Monroe, Western Kentucky to cap it off. I like Western Kentucky. Like they were a good team this season. So I'll put them in B tier. Bailey Zapp is a stud. They'll go in C tier actually. So this is what I got as of right now. I got 4 S tier teams: Bama, Georgia, Cincy, Michigan. Now, if you want, I'll put Baylor in there. I'll throw Baylor in the mix. I don't know. Yeah, I like this right now. I'll put Notre Dame. No, I'll put it. Yeah, but this is what I got. Those are the S, those are the A, those are the B, those are the C, those are the D, and then the F are down here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's a bit of a long one, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.